Welcome back to our ultimate Scottish summer road trip. Scotland, ranked among the top 5 travel destinations in the world and welcoming millions of visitors every year. In August 2025, we decided to experience the magic ourselves. Over 3 unforgettable weeks, 2,500 miles and countless adventures, we'll take you across the length and breadth of Scotland, from epic coastlines and big sky landscapes to historic castles, lochs, waterfalls and movie-famous mountain viaducts. Scotland is overflowing with stories, and this is ours. So far on our adventure, we left Dublin, travelled north through Northern Ireland to the port town of Larne, where we caught a ferry across to explore the southernmost point of Scotland, the Mull of Galloway. Now, on day number 2, we travel east across the Scottish borders, exploring 4,000-year-old standing stones, an ancient abbey, as well as several castles, to the English town of Berwick upon Tweed for an overnight stop before heading on to Edinburgh to pick up our campervan on day number 3, where the adventure really begins.
Let's speak then to our North of England correspondent, Katie Barnfield.
Wind gusts have now been recorded here of over 120 miles an hour, and that has brought down trees. This is really terrible timing for an unseasonable summer storm. It is a bank holiday here in Scotland today, and lots of tourist attractions have been affected. Really, the advice to everybody is please check before you try and travel anywhere.
We seemed lucky enough to have missed the worst of Storm Floris as we slept in a little bit of a valley. Significant winds blowing around and nothing too serious, but clearly on the upper highlands it was a different story. So we head off on the road, plenty of bunnies, plenty of scenery and excitement to what the day would give us. Heading back through Cairnryan and the town of Stanrar, the ferry seemed to still be working, but the sea was very choppy. Our first stop for the day was that of Glenluce Abbey, situated in the beautiful valley of the Water of Luce, about 12 miles from the town of Stanrar. It's one of 29 historical Scotland properties in the Dumfries and Galloway area. Look, Bailey, it's an old Glenluce Abbey. We need to go to the other side there, Bailey.
Huh? Oh, I see them.
What do you see, Bailey?
Lucy.
Lucy the sheep. Unfortunately, due to restrictions in place as a precautionary measure while work is being done to the masonry, there's no visitor access into the abbey. However, you can still walk around the outside as the shop, museum and grounds are open from the 1st of April to the 30th of September, on Monday and Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and they're closed in winter from 1st of October to 31st of March. They're busy doing some repairs to it. You gotta jump in the puddle, yeah, jump in the puddle, Bailey. Wow, Bailey, jumping in a puddle. Another puddle. So Glenluce Abbey. Stop. Talking to the assistant in the shop, it seems that there has been a reduction in the number of visitors to the site, but it really is worthwhile to come and have a look around this. Quite impressive. The abbey's layout conforms roughly to Cistercian norms, with the cross-shaped church to the north and the domestic buildings ranged around an open cloister. Beyond this, there are a few service buildings. Muddy puddle! After that first stop, we carried on driving, and the next section of road was extra special along the Luce Bay on the A747. We really got some really nice scenic views of the coastline. It wasn't long and we were heading into the town of Port William. After the town of Port William, we took a left and headed to our stop number 2, the standing stones of Dumtroddan. I think this is where we realized on the exposed plateau just how windy it really was. The monument originally comprised of 3 large upright standing stones aligned roughly northeast to southwest. 2 stones have fallen over the 4,000 to 5,000 years, and only 1 remains fully upright. The 2 end stones measure about 3 meters in length, and the middle stone somewhat shorter. The name Dumtroddan comes from Gaelic, meaning ridge, and trodden meaning quarrel or contention. The site takes sweeping views over the Manchars and toward the Galloway Hills. The stones were erected sometime between the 3rd and 2nd millennium BC, 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Their precise use is unknown, but likely ceremonial or ritual in nature. Some suggest they may have been used for observing the sun or moon. Right, I think you can see really windy Dumtroddan standing stones. Over 4,000 years old, but not something you'll normally see too often. Even though it's windy, it's nice. The next stop driving along was Carsluith Castle. Not really a planned stop, but it was an opportunistic point for a tea time break and a nice lookout as well. I was also quite impressed at how the wind had swept up the waves in the Windtown Bay. Back to the castle itself, not much remains of it, but it's in good condition, but not much to see, closed while we were there. But at the little cafe shop, we got some nice fudge and some snacks for the drive along, where we pushed on. The next stop was Kirkcudbright for the MacLelland's castle, something a little bit more significant. Driving into Kirkcudbright, you cross the Kirkcudbright Bridge, which has some load limitations and an interesting history of being closed for more than 100 days due to some structural challenges, but currently opened since July 2025 under one-way load limitation. More interesting, the town is quite unique, a lot of artistry and history. Most common and most important is the MacLelland's castle in the centre. The Lady of MacLelland waiting for MacLellan to return, and this is often associated with the Rapunzel, as per the decorative figurine they've put in the window. There's apparently a carved stone figure as well. While we were there, clearly not open for reconstruction, but an impressive looking castle. We took the time to go down to the little harbour and got a view of that bridge again, which was quite unique and interesting. Before we pressed on again, heading towards Dumfries, which would be our lunch stop for the afternoon. We didn't stop for very long in Dumfries, but we did have a chance to look at the Devorgilla bridge over the River Nith. The River Nith is a significant tidal river and made for a good break to stretch our legs, walk across this 17th century reconstruction of a 12th century bridge. After that quick walkabout and stretching the legs on the River Nith, we grabbed some quick takeaway meal and we're back on the road again. Scottish borders, lots of ups and downs, and in all we did 330 kilometers on this day number 2. Majority of it was in the afternoon as we pushed on, didn't stop very often, but the drive itself was quite pleasurable through small short showers and spells of sunshine. It was a really good drive as we made our way towards the northernmost town in England, Berwick upon Tweed. So Berwick upon Tweed, the town that really surprised us the most on this trip. It's the northernmost town in England, but it has a strong affinity with Scotland, and it has been contested between England and Scotland, changing hands several times. There are several bridges across the River Tweed, which really fascinated me. The old bridge dating back to the 1600s, the famous Royal Border Bridge, Viaduct Rail Bridge. The reason we chose Berwick upon Tweed is we have some family friends there, and it's well connected via rail to Edinburgh to leave our vehicle while we take on the camper van. But first, we had a good fish and chip supper, and the kids got to play around and let off some of that energy. And so, day 3 began, partially a rest day. We only needed to pick up our camper van at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Edinburgh. There was a Scottish Rail strike on the day that was unexpected, so we ended up driving up to Edinburgh to pick up the camper van. Before driving south back to Berwick upon Tweed to pick up our final belongings. On recommendation of our friends, we decided to enjoy the late evening and took a drive further south in the wrong direction really, towards Holy Island. It's only accessible at low tide as there's a tidal causeway that floods, but luckily the tide was low and the causeway was open till 11 PM, giving us a bit of time to go and explore. Just missed the sunset. It was epic. This is our camper van for the next 10 nights. We'll be taking it around Scotland. But tonight we're coming to Holy Island, which is across a bridge that is flooded during high tide. So, got about 2 hours before the tide comes in, and we'll be stuck for the night. This should be quite an interesting. The photos. It was a nice drive through the nature reserve towards the end to the Holy Island parking, where there is a castle and some monasteries and the likes, but I guess this time of the evening and mostly a walking type event. Not much we could really do other than just go and enjoy the drive and head back onto the road before we found our stop for the night. That's the end of day number 1. We picked up our camper van today at Bunk Campers in Edinburgh. Drove all the way back to Berwick upon Tweed, collected a few extras we need. Yeah, it was quite an experience to actually check in. It took about an hour longer than expected. It was very, very busy this time of year trying to hire a camper van. So very different experience from the first time we did it when we were in the middle of winter in Dublin. I think it all went quite smoothly. Very happy with our camper van. The kids are sleeping in the back, and we've done about 70-80 miles today after 5 o'clock through till about 9 o'clock. Managed to go to Holy Cross, an island just south of Berwick upon Tweed, where we were able to cross over the causeway that basically gets submerged during high tide. So we just took a drive around there at sunset. Quite epic. Winds are still very high, so no chance of flying the drone, but it's good. We drove on towards Edinburgh, a few kilometres north of Berwick upon Tweed. We found a good stopover for the night, parked up and having a little bit of a snack, and we're going to say goodnight very soon before we get going properly tomorrow, heading further north. Here's a quick sneak peek at what you can expect on day 4 in the next episode. Stop after a short drive is Haley's Castle. Then it's on to the Falkirk Kelpies. This was the kids' favourite. Then we tried to drive through the town of Stirling, got a little bit diverted as it was very busy, and really tested how narrow the roads are compared to the width of the motorhome. We decided to drive past the Wallace Memorial and then on to Scone Palace, where we spent the majority of the afternoon exploring this seat of Scottish royalty before heading on to Cairngorm Mountains and the snow roads, when I finally got a chance to get the drone out. See some sheep. We really enjoyed these winding roads, culminating at the peak in the ski resorts before heading down the hills to beautiful sunsets, before making our overnight stop at Balmoral Castle. But you're going to have to wait till episode 4 to get the tour around the castle and see if we can spot King Charles.
Thanks for watching Discussions with David.
Every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need.